Hi guys, bear with the mess around me. John has completely taken over the studio with his rebuild on his 300 XCW, so I apologize. I am working in a small corner today. One of the things I've complained about on my KTM 500 is the switches on both sides of the handlebars both have various problems. So the combo switch that sits on the left-hand side that controls your high beam, your horn, and your turn signals, I've had to take that off the bike since the beginning. Mine's actually zip tied in behind the fender. And the reason for that is if you adjust the clutch screw so that the clutch is any closer to the lever than all the way out, which is hard for me to reach with short hands, the back of that combo switch actually interferes with the adjustment screw as you pull the clutch lever in and actually physically blocks the clutch lever from being fully depressed. Well, obviously that's not going to work. I think the combo switch is an afterthought of some kind. I'm not sure how they ever imagined it would work, but never mind. I went ahead and ordered a Sicass combo switch, which you can see here. I'm going to show you guys how to install that today. It's really nice because it's got this super low profile back end. I'll show you during the install, but this I'm hoping is going to stay out of the way but still give me access to all the controls. So I haven't had like a horn or the high beam, low beam switch available to me because that switch is tucked away stock. On the other side, the only complaint that I have about this bike so far, I've got about 80 hours on it. I just did a 70-hour review and had nothing but sterling marks for the bike. The one thing that's been a little bit annoying is the starter switches going out on it, and the last ride that I took, it got really bad, and I'm sitting there at the stop, everybody's taken off, and I'm literally the last guy, you know, at the water break or whatever, and I'm wiggling the switch trying to get the bike started. Now it did start, it didn't leave me stranded, but only, you know, wiggling the switch around quite a bit, which was super annoying, and I'm sure that at some point it's gonna fail completely. So I went ahead and ordered the Taco Moto replacement switch. It's a low profile unit, which I really like. It's got the kill button and the starter switch. I'm not so stoked that it doesn't have the rocker kill switch. I really got used to being able just to flip that and kind of leave the bike killed, but I think that's not gonna be that big of a deal. Actually, one of the things I liked about it was that with the rocker switch, you never had to turn the key off because the bike was always off when the switch was off, but actually there's a relay that does that automatically. So if the bike isn't run for more than, I don't know, it's like 5 or 10 seconds, I don't know what the timeout is, but the relay will actually cut, and until you hit the starter button, the bike's basically dead. Only the starter circuit actually has any life to it. So you can leave the switches on, the keys on, and leave the bike sitting for 2 weeks and it'll start just fine, which is really a kind of a cool feature. So props to KTM for building that. So I think I can get away without that rocker switch, which is one of the things that I did like about the bike. But I think with the relay, that's actually the part that I like. That's what I'm trying to say. So long story short, I'm excited to put this switch on. Hopefully I'll have a starter switch again for the Broken Enduro ride that we're doing this weekend. So let's figure out how to install these. It looks like the switch side's pretty easy. There's a ground and like a power plug. And on the combo switch side, there's 2 combination plugs. So these are supposed to be plug and play. Let's see if that holds up. So the first thing we're gonna do is remove the headlight and the front panel here. That'll give us access to all of the wires that we need. The other thing we're gonna have to do is cut the zip ties that are bunching the wires up to the handlebars on both sides. I was just reading the directions, and for the 2019, it looks like I've also got to pull the fuel tank off in order to get to the ground, which is super annoying, but so be it. You can see here where I've zip tied the stock combo switch for the left-hand set of controls. And this is your horn and headlight, high beam, low beam, etc. And you can see how big and bulky this is, and it's this ridge on the back where the screw runs through that it actually contacts the clutch, and so it can't be mounted up as is. So I'm really excited to be replacing this because I've gone without this since day one on this bike. You just pry it off. It's not actually a locking clip. I was pressing on nothing. It's just like a bump, right? And it just, you just pry it off over that. So that gets the combo switch free. So this is the stock unit. And you can see kind of, I mean, it's a huge bulky thing. Like, you can see this back ridge here is just massive. Let me show you the new one. So this is the new one here. On the left is the Sicass setup. And you can see, I mean, it's thinner, it's smaller, the switches are smaller. But most importantly for me, I don't know how if I can show you the profile there. Yeah, so you can see like the back profile is just a lot thinner. So I think that one's gonna be a lot easier to fit in behind the clutch. I've also got the Get ECU map switch on there, which is, so the fact that it's thinner this way is gonna be a big deal for me too, because I don't have a whole lot of real estate left on the bars. Just reconnect both of these. Super easy. Route this kind of wherever it makes sense to you. So there's one combo plug, and then there's a single wire here. And then there's this, which I capped off at some point, and I'm not remembering why I did that or what the impact of that might be. So let's see how the new one might hook up. So these are labeled really nicely. So connect to white wire with gray stripe that you removed from the kill switch. White wire with gray stripe. Okay, so that's this one. Thank you, Taco Moto, for the beautiful labeling job. I really appreciate that. So that just slides in, done. And this one says connect to the frame ground, but it's also got a removable plug here on it. I don't know how the kill switch worked without a frame ground before, but I definitely had that one disconnected on the stock wiring. Kind of want to try it. I guess I can just stall the bike if it doesn't work. So I'm going to stick that somewhere safe. Let's see if the starter switch works. I guess that's like the first part. Huh. Well, the starter switch works. Gotta use the cold start because I haven't had the bike running in a couple of weeks. Yeah, so I had to stall it. It definitely needs to be grounded. I don't know how the stock switch, it did something different. I guess because it wasn't a push button. That makes sense to me now. So this one's push button, right? To ground it out. So you ground out the spark basically. The original one is a rocker switch. So I don't know. It cut something. I'm not sure. But anyway, you can't kill the bike. It'll start just fine, but you can't kill the bike without connecting this. So we're gonna do that now. I'm also going to turn the key off, which I don't normally do because I've got like a live starter switch now, and while I'm screwing around with getting the switch installed, I don't want to actually start the bike on myself. Cool, so we're gonna pull the tank and run this ground wire back to the frame ground. So this is the ground screw, the frame ground screw. Everything grounds to it from all over the place. I've run this wire from the kill switch, the new kill switch, down along the left side of the neck from around the front where it's mounted. I'm gonna go ahead and add it to the screw here with all the other grounds. Nice and snug. And then we're gonna go ahead and route the wire up, and I'll zip tie it out of the way and make sure that it clears the steering action. Right, got the get switch out of the way nicely. That'll work fine there. I don't actually need the get switch. I always run map 1 these days, but who knows what'll happen in the future, so we'll leave it there. It's almost more work to uninstall it than it is to leave it alone. All right, I want the wire to run underneath the bars so that it's not up on top sticking up. I will zip tie it up, but first of all, I mean, this is basically the placement that we're gonna have. It's a Phillips screwdriver to remove the backing here. Just barely clears. I'll show you guys in a second here. Let me get the screws in. I am gonna line them up with the clutch lever in the same angle because that's where I'm gonna be, that's where my hand will be positioned when I'm standing up on the bike in attack position. That's why my levers are as far forward as they are. I noticed that a lot of guys run their levers up here. I don't know how you stand up and actually operate the controls that way. I like to push mine down so that when I'm in attack position, my hands are straight. And so I'm gonna line the controls up the same way. I like this turn signal switch better. It's a rocker switch, so you can clearly see when it's on or off. The stock one's kind of stupid. It's this nonsense, and like, because it's always off, you never know if it's off. Like, who designs this crap? And it also, like, it always gets stuck, and then like you gotta push it to turn them off. Motorcycles, always you see guys riding around with their turn signals flashing long after they've made a turn because they forgot, because this thing looks off. There's no, like, this one, you can see if it's on or off, because it's on or off. Thank you to Sicass for thinking. Oh, and there's like an off. That is super clever. I will have to test it though and see if that works. Off would be freaking amazing. That alone would be worth buying these for, because there's so many reasons, like power draw and just certain riding conditions. There's all kinds of reasons you might not want to run a headlight. We're going to definitely check that out. But first of all, let me get all the wires zip tied back onto these bars, and I've still got the controls for the other side, the starter switch to mount up. So I'm going to get sort of liberal with the zip ties here and get kind of aggressive with them, because like I don't want these controls in the way. And when you're getting branches scraping through or you're dropping the bike on rocks and stuff, I want to make sure that all of the wires are like not going to catch and rip off on stuff. Okay, and then I've just got the bundle back in here. There is a clamp on this sort of instrument cluster there to put it into, and then it'll just sit behind the headlight up there behind the number plate. That's no problem. Fantastic. Let's switch over to the other side and get the Taco Moto Kill Start starter switch installed. Pretty much the same deal here. Unscrew the stupid stock switch that doesn't work anymore. I've already got the wires out of the way, and screw the new one in place. Not quite sure where I want the wires to run for this. I guess I want them to come up underneath like they do, and then we'll stick this on right here. We actually gain quite a bit of real estate. It's actually quite a bit thinner than stock, which is kind of cool. You can see sort of side-by-side comparison. It's quite a bit of difference, so I like that. And this, oh, this is really clever. So the screws are actually in the bottom instead of on the back, which I think is really cool. But we may have to move the throttle cable around out of the way. They say so in the manual. You know, reading the manual is a last resort kind of a thing. I actually left one of these bolts out on one of the broken enduro rides last month, and got partway through like a 100-mile ride and I didn't leave the bolts out. I left them loose by mistake because I've been adjusting things. Fortunately, I had a replacement and everything worked out, but yeah, check your bolts. So we're gonna pivot that out of the way so that we can get this clamped back on. Maybe, like it's really not fitting very well. I can't get this both behind here and also in front of, like maybe this way. There we go. Yikes. Getting it installed, it's a tight fit. I guess that's where it's gonna go. It can't slide further up because it hits the housing for the throttle cable. So it's basically got to sit right there, which I guess isn't the worst thing in the world. Like all that really matters is that you can reach it, right? So it's a little far out. I guess I would like it a little in. But I guess that's okay, because again, like everything lines up with the way I have the brake in like the attack position. So that's where it's gonna be. Let's tighten it down. I don't want it to slip, but I don't want to crack the plastic housing, so I'm not gonna go nuts on it. So now we gotta do cable management. Gonna do the same thing we did on the other side. Gonna zip tie this up in a few places and get it routed up in behind. That'll do it. Starter switch that works, combo switch that works. I'm pretty fucking stoked. Last step is to get this wrapped back up, button back up the headlight. There's a shitload of stuff behind here that I gotta make sure clears. But I just want to, real quick, prop that there. I'm gonna start the bike and we're gonna test that headlight kill switch because I'm kind of excited to see if that's a functional thing. Haha! So headlight kill switch does work, except there's always a running light that's on, but you can see bright, medium, or regular, and the main headlight off. Very cool.